Welcome to the Vet Med Wellness and Leadership Podcast, where we discuss central challenges vet med leaders face, such as burnout, stress, and difficult interactions with clients and staff, just to name a few. In each episode, you will hear about actionable solutions that you can apply to your practice and invitations to connect with fellow leaders who are passionate about improving the wellness of the vet med profession. By subscribing, liking, commenting, or sharing this podcast, you are helping more veterinary professionals find the resources shared in these episodes. Thank you in advance for listening and supporting this show. I hope you enjoy it. Hey everybody, Crystal Stokes here. My guest today is Cheyenne Williams. She is joining us from very warmer than Santa Barbara, Sarasota, Florida. So she's the owner of Shiny Day Specialized Pet Care, which provides services ranging from basic pet sitting and dog walking to assisting owners in managing their pets' medical needs. She has her CVA in veterinary medicine, and she's currently going to school to receive her CVT. And she's been working in veterinary medicine now for about 11 years, including general practice and specialty hospitals. Today, we're going to be talking about something very important to her, which is one of her volunteer positions with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I'll also mention that she, when she's not busy with animals and running her business, she loves to maintain a fitness routine, to read, to spend time with her children and her family, to travel when she has time, and her new recent hobby of indoor gardening. So Cheyenne, thank you so much for being with us today and for this being willing to talk about the very important topic of suicide prevention. I'll start with a little icebreaker for us today. We had mentioned offline that you've had a lot of very interesting animal encounters and also ones that have a range of coincidences. So could you share one with us, one of your favorites?
Yeah, so I've worked with a ton of different animals, all the way from, dogs and cats, everyday animals, to lemurs and marmosets. One of my favorite ones was when I was working at Jungle Gardens in Sarasota. It's like our local little zoo here. And I was pregnant with my youngest daughter. We weren't necessarily allowed to work with the mammals there. And there was one lemur there that particularly had an interest in me and nobody else. She was really, really nasty to other people, but loved me. And after I had left and gone on maternity leave, they had texted me and told me the reason why she loved me so much was because she was also pregnant and just had a little lemur baby. So that was the best.
You guys are both pregnant mamas, and she felt some kinship with you.
Oh yeah, definitely. She was a sweetheart to me, but other people, not so much.
That is so adorable. I love that story. Well, so today we are talking about suicide prevention and your work with the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. So how can we back into this and share some of you have a really amazing origin story with your very personal relationship to this topic. And I'd love for you to start there and share with us how you got into being a part of this organization.
Yeah, of course. So I suffer a personal loss with suicide. In 2016, my mother died by suicide. And I was kind of navigating how to deal with all of that and, looking up resources, but never really for myself, mainly for my younger brothers who were, there's quite a big age gap between the four of us. And I couldn't really find a lot of information. And I was working at a hospital who happened to sponsor an event from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, their Out of the Darkness Walk. And they knew that I had suffered this loss and I was going through this. And they asked me to be the head of the team that was going to walk there on that Sunday. And of course, I said yes. So we had a whole team from the hospital get together, which was interesting because I had worked the overnight shift before. So I worked 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. and then the walk started at 8 a.m. So I was hurrying to get there. And we walked the event and I was going through the booths, and they had this amazing like ribbon. I don't know what you would call it, like a remembrance thing where you could write names of the people that you're supporting on the ribbon and like hang it up. Um, and I did that, and I think that was the first time I really felt my own grief and felt like a sense of family. And just looking at all the names up there, it really made you feel like you weren't alone. So I went to the register booth, and I kind of gave them my information, and how to contact me. And I was on the very next walk committee. And then after that walk, I was asked to become a board member for our local chapter.
Wow. That's powerful. So that was that first sense of real connection and not being alone that you experienced after losing your mom.
Yeah, yeah, it was really, really emotional but beautiful moment.
Wow. And how long ago was that when you first started your journey with this organization?
My first walk, that first time was October 25th of 2019.
So you've been with them all through COVID.
Yep. Yeah, that was interesting because we couldn't have our walks in 2020. So we had to do like a whole online video instead, and like encourage people to like walk around their neighborhoods and social distance. And that was definitely an experience.
You got to be nimble. People are adapting as we go. So tell us more about this organization and the things that you would like our listeners to know when it comes to suicide prevention and working with this organization.
Yeah. So the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention is one of the largest mental health organizations known nationally and internationally. We provide millions of dollars in research funding and programs for individuals who are struggling, who have made an attempt, or who know someone who's struggling. There are different things that the organization does as far as research, programs. We also do activism. I was part of I forgot what it's called now, Capitol Day, where we go to our state capitol. This year it was still virtual, so hopefully that will change. But we were able to help pass legislation in regards to mental health. The national hotline is now a 3-digit number, making it super easy for people to reach out.
Oh, what's that number?
It is 988.
Easy to remember too. Great.
988, and that'll get you connected with live help who can either dispatch mental health advisors or get you the help that you need to go into a facility or whatever type of treatment or support that the individual needs. So that was a really, really awesome thing that I got to be a part of and help make happen. And we get to do a lot of local things as well as like the community walks that we do. We also have campus walks at schools and programs for teens, children, and adults.
Oh, that's wonderful. So with all of your knowledge that you've accrued over the years of working with this organization, our audience are veterinarians, practice owners, veterinary technicians, practice managers. What do you wish they knew about suicide prevention?
Being, how do I word this? What do I wish they knew about suicide prevention? I think knowing the risks and warning signs are definitely a huge one, and knowing that there are resources available. The American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, I can't even talk straight. Hold on. The American Foundation for Suicide Prevention actually has an interactive screening program that we are partnering with hospitals and doctors' offices, including veterinary offices, to kind of help identify if there is any type of risk. And it has a lot of good information for practice managers and veterinarians.
Great. So Cheyenne, right now, I'm actually on their website. I think it's a fabulous resource. It's very thorough, very well done. So for those people listening now, you may be wondering, well, what are some of the risk factors? Let me just go ahead and share some of those with you straight from their website. So they break these risk factors down into a few different categories. So they start with health. So mental health conditions such as depression, substance use problems, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, personality traits of aggression, mood changes, or poor relationships, conduct disorder, anxiety disorder, also serious physical health conditions, including pain and traumatic brain injury. Those were under health. They also have environmental risk factors, such as access to lethal means, including firearms and drugs. And I'll just pause there and say that we know as veterinary staff that we do have easy access to lethal means. They also have prolonged stress, such as harassment, bullying, relationship problems, or unemployment. I think right there again, in the veterinary profession, sometimes we do experience bullying, such as from unhappy clients. And of course, prolonged stress is just the nature of the work currently. Next would be stressful life events like rejection, divorce, financial crisis, or other life transitions or loss. And then exposure to another person's suicide or to graphic or sensationalized accounts of suicide. And lastly, we have historical risk factors, and that would be a previous suicide attempt, a family history of suicide, child abuse, neglect, or trauma. Now, to give a little bit of hope, what I also really like about their website is they list protective factors. So what are some things that could protect against suicide? Here they have access to mental health care and being proactive about mental health. Hello, that's me. And that's really very much the role that I am here to play in veterinary medicine, is to help promote and provide wellness services to people who need support. Another protective factor is feeling connected to family and community support. So that's a lot of what you're describing you all do with this organization. So holding events, doing walks, really talking about it. A couple more protective factors. We're coming to the end. Another would be problem solving and coping skills. And that's a big part of what we teach in my work, how to cope with stress, how to be solutions oriented. We also have limiting access to lethal means. And then lastly, we have cultural and religious beliefs that encourage connecting and help seeking, discourage suicidal behavior, or create a strong sense of personal self-esteem. So I think this is a really solid website. If anybody is interested in learning more, I really would encourage them to check this out.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. It's definitely a lot of really, really good information. And joining a local chapter is definitely a good way to get involved with it. We're all just like a giant family. I don't have her name, but we did just get a new programs manager for Florida, and she has actually worked with Not One More Vet. So I'm super excited to meet her too.
Fabulous. So for those listening, you may know that organization also called NAMV, very big in the veterinary space, doing amazing work to help prevent suicide. One more thing I want to share, this is also from the website you're just on, would be warning signs. So what would you look for? Maybe personally, you're feeling fine, you're thriving in your career, you're great. But what about those around you? What are some things you can look for as those red flags, as warning signs? So the list they have here, they've broken this down into talk, behavior, and mood. So talk, this means if a person actually is speaking about killing themselves, they may have mentioned it in passing. They say they're feeling hopeless, stating they feel they have no reason to live, feeling of being a burden to others, feeling trapped, or having unbearable pain. Those are red flags. Under behavior, we have an increased use of alcohol or drugs, looking for ways to end their life, such as searching online for methods. They may be withdrawing from activities, isolating themselves from family and friends, sleeping too much or too little, visiting or calling people to say goodbye, giving away prized possessions, aggression, and fatigue. And lastly, under mood, some of these were mentioned earlier, but depression, anxiety, loss of interest, irritability, humiliation and shame, agitation and anger, and relief or sudden improvement. So those are all interesting warning signs that you can also keep an eye on. And if you are unsure, if you're worried about somebody, you can go to this website. You can call that number, which was 899, right? Or
988.
988, and reach out to somebody to get those resources to help.
Yeah, definitely. And I think too, when we're talking about like speech and stuff like that with people, a lot of times I feel like because in the veterinary space, we are very into our dark humor and anything to like kind of help us cope. Um, Pay attention to people when they say things even in a joking manner. You could be the happiest person in the room, but really be struggling. So, you know, things like saying out loud suicidal ideation, but making it like joking and fun, like, really just reach out to that person and have a conversation to make sure there isn't some underlying real suicidal ideation going on, not just a stressful day.
So you're saying just always take it seriously. If somebody mentions it, even in a playful way, treat it as if it's serious and address it directly.
Correct. Yes.
And I encourage you, those of you who are listening, there should be a clear pathway within your hospital, within your practice, of how you would elevate this to management. It should not be something that a person on the staff should be dealing with on their own. If you're worried about one of your fellow employees, you really should elevate this to management level.
Absolutely. Reach out to those you know who may also be on a better level of talking to them. If it's somebody that you don't really know that well, or, you guys aren't best friends outside of work, talking to somebody who that person trusts or will open up to is definitely a good idea, because a lot of times people will isolate and shut down. And, being a trusted person for them is something they look for.
Absolutely. That's so important. I'm glad you mentioned that. And I'd also like to help people understand, I think there's a lot of unknown when people think, well, what happens when somebody does say, hey, yes, I am feeling suicidal. Now what? I think that can be quite scary for those who are anticipating trying to receive help or receive support. And just to paint the picture that there's a diversity of supports that are available. I think that's very unique to the person's situation, and that by reaching out to mental health providers, they're there to listen. They're there to understand the situation you're in, and ultimately to keep you safe as you sort out what needs to be done as in terms of your next steps. So there's no cookie cutter, one fits all way to proceed when somebody does, wave their white flag and say, hey, I need some help. I need some support. I'm really struggling. Just to know that there are providers out there who are meant to screen you, understand where you are, and then work with you to find the best next steps.
Absolutely. And the 988 number is definitely a wonderful resource for that. And if you feel like that person is in immediate danger of some type of self-harm, it's super important to take them seriously and stay with them. If you have the ability to do so, or you feel that there are lethal means like within the building that they could potentially get a hold of to remove those from the situation, and either, escort them to a mental health facility or to the nearest emergency room.
Yep, absolutely. And another thing too you can do is you can call 911. If you can't remember the number we just listed today, you can call 911. You can ask for what we call a safety check. That's where they send somebody over to check on somebody, to check on their safety. So that can happen if you're not with the person. Maybe they called you or they sent you a text message. You can't get a hold of them, but you know their location. You can call 911 and just simply ask for a safety check, and they will send somebody out to help. And urgent care, taking somebody to their local urgent care, to the local ER. They do have staff there that are ready to help. So those are all in the moment of need, very important resources. I love that you mentioned if there are any types of lethal means to secure those, to get those out of the building. Very, very important as well.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, this is a wonderful topic. I think we should, it'd be nice to actually do kind of like a council or roundtable and bring somebody in from NAMV, have a variety of people on to represent the organizations that are supporting veterinarians. I really appreciate you bringing that in today. And this kind of brings us to just one more thing we're just going to briefly mention, but it sort of has to do with your business. And the way I'd like to connect these things is that sometimes when people are struggling with mental health, let's say in veterinary medicine, sometimes it's because they feel really stuck. They may feel that I've committed hundreds of thousands of dollars to training to be in this profession, or I've been doing this, maybe working as a technician for 15 years, and I'm just really burned out, but I don't know what else to do. I feel really stuck. And perhaps this current role fit is not working for me, or the organization I'm working for just doesn't support my needs currently. And I don't know what to do. And when I heard about your company and the way you run it, I thought this is a great idea for people that might be having a bit of an itch and thinking, I need some kind of a change. I'm feeling a bit burned out or stuck or apathetic in my current role. Well, here is Cheyenne to inspire you a little bit with some other ideas of what you can do.
Yeah, of course. So, my business started as a side thing, as I think most good businesses do, where I was working overnights in the hospital I was at, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., 3 days a week. I was on call 2 days a week. I did inventory management for the entire hospital on a separate day. So, my life was like committed to the hospital. And as we all know, that can lead to burnout really, really quick. So I wanted to take kind of like a little step back, but at the time I was really doing all of this stuff was around the same time that my mom had died by suicide. So I became a workaholic to kind of not deal with those emotions. And we had a patient in there one night who, something happened with their current pet sitter that they had at the time. And he got into some Tylenol. So the owners didn't feel comfortable with him going back home with that pet sitter. So I was like, well, I'll take him. Like, once he's discharged, assuming everything goes good, like he can come home with me. And then it wasn't even a week later, we had another one with a new diagnosis, and they were leaving town, and they're like, oh, my pet sitter is not going to know how to do any of this. And I was like, okay, well, I'll take that one. And then another one came in, and the owner couldn't medicate their cat. And so I was like, okay, well, after my shifts, I don't mind coming over and helping you medicate your pet. And then eventually the doctors I was working for would just hand my name and number out. Here you go, call her. She'll help you with everything. So before I knew it, I was managing a few diabetic cats. I had a whole bunch of kidney animals I was giving fluid to. And the primary vets in the area found out what I was doing and started also sending my number out, which they had gotten from the doctor that I was working with. So by the time I had stepped back from the hospital I was at, I had about 129 people who were all contacting me for either fluids a couple times a week, or they were going on vacation and their dog had Cushing's. And it was really, really amazing.
Wow. Let's convert from a side hustle into basically a full-time job where you can provide this kind of specialized pet care that goes beyond pet sitting. It's really for people that need medical attention, and they may not be able to get into the vet, the vet right now, right? There's a waiting list for most veterinary hospitals. And for something that might be simple, like administering medication or fluids, having someone like you that can come in and help with that is just such a tremendous relief and really, really needed.
Absolutely. And I know, so we're in Florida too, and I know some other states are kind of strict with it. So if it is something that other individuals are interested in, definitely look at the regulations on what your state allows you to do as far as administering medications. But I do have forms that if any veterinarian is sending me a pet that they want me to medicate, that I have them fill out, pretty much giving me permission to treat the pet in the client's home.
Wow, very smart. So is this currently your full-time job now?
Yes, ma'am. Full time. And I am happy to report that I have hired 2 other technicians at this time. So One of them hasn't started yet, but we're excited to see where it goes as we kind of like expand into other counties.
So what's it like? Like now transitioning, we look back to where you were working overnights 3 days a week, on call 2 days a week, doing all the inventory, and your quality of life then compared to your quality of life now. What's different?
Oh my goodness. I'd like to tell people that I traded in my 40-hour week for 80 hours a week. So it's definitely a lot more freedom than being in an office setting and a hospital setting. I wouldn't say it's a bad different or a good different. It's just different. We're still dealing with the clients, and of course, we get to do what we love, and that's caring for the pets. I would say that it is a lot of work, and some days, you get burnout with this too. But definitely setting, time aside for yourself, even in the hospital or doing this, you need to prioritize yourself first.
Yes. So either way, so I really like that you highlight there's no magic solution. You're going to have stress. You could face burnout, whether you're working for yourself or working for a hospital. It's really about your own internal sense of boundaries and how you manage your time. And I'll say as a business owner myself, what a lot of people don't realize is that when you own a business, you're responsible for all the operational aspects of it. If you hire people, you have payroll, you have taxes, you have insurance, they're all of the back end business needs. They take a lot of time and nobody's paying you to do it. You don't get a paycheck for doing it. It's not just servicing clients anymore. So, but it's really wonderful. I think that could be inspiring to people who they might be in a transition in their life. Maybe they are now parents and they want to spend more time at home with the kids, or they just know that the current position they're in just isn't really nurturing them anymore, is not as interesting. That, hey, maybe you could try a side hustle. Like, look at the need. You basically built this because people were asking for it. They needed your help. You responded. And here you are now about to hire 2 people.
Yep. I'm very, very excited about it. And yeah, there definitely is a need for it, especially with how short-staffed veterinary hospitals are, and that's not to say like we want to take more staff away from the hospital to do this, but if there are retired technicians who just maybe can't do the physical work anymore, but can give a cat fluids, kind of taking that off of the hospital's workload, I've found that they're really appreciative of it. And they get to know that their patients are taken care of outside of the hospital as well, which was a huge thing for me as to why I started it, because I have all these patients and then they go home and I'm sitting there wondering how they're doing. And now like I get to know beyond the journey of the hospital how they're doing.
Isn't that so sweet? Yes, I can see how rewarding that this kind of work would be for you. Yeah. Well, Cheyenne, I really appreciate you being on today. We covered some really important points around suicide prevention. For those listening, we will link up in the show notes the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, so you can go check out their website. It's a wonderful resource. You might want to, bookmark it so you have it in your browser. And Cheyenne, for those listening today, if they want to check out your services and learn more about your pet sitting and your specialized veterinary care, where should they find you?
Yeah, so I am on Facebook and Instagram at Shiny Day Pet Care, and it's SHINEY Day Pet Care. And also my website is just shinydaypetsitting.com.
Okay, excellent. I will put all of that in the show notes. And I really appreciate you being on today. It was just wonderful to connect with you and to hear your story.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And if anybody listening is in crisis or know of somebody who's in crisis, that phone number again is 988.
Fabulous. Thanks so much, Cheyenne.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me today. I hope that you feel stoked after listening to this episode. And as always, I would love to hear your comments and feedback. Is there a topic that you want to know more about? Please let me know. And thank you again for subscribing and sharing your favorite episodes with others. It really means a lot.